If you're thinking about moving to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and you're not sure where exactly in the Chattanooga area is right for you, then you're in the right place. Today, we're going to be talking about Appison, Tennessee. Now, Appison is a suburb about 30 to 45 minutes away from downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's known for being an area that's a little bit more quiet, a bit more laid back, and where you can potentially get a bit more land than you could elsewhere in the Chattanooga area. In general, I would say that Appison is quiet, it's rural, it's spacious, and there's not too many people out there. In fact, during the 2020 census, there was only about 4,420 people living in the Appison area. Now, I would imagine that that has grown quite a bit since then, but it is still a relatively underpopulated area. Without further ado, let's jump into the video and we'll talk all about Appison, Tennessee. Just a little bit of history and background on Appison. The initial settlement in Appison was actually named O'Brien, but they had to change the name due to there being another town in Tennessee named O'Brien. When they were bringing the railroad tracks through the area, they decided to change the name to Appison because of all of the Appison shale along the train tracks. Appison is about 16.2 square miles, so it's a relatively small area, and it's mostly land. There's not a lot of development or commercial amenities in Appison. It's mostly just land, farmland, agricultural land, and a lot of single-family land in there as well. In terms of the demographics that live in the Appison area, it's predominantly families, and then you have some middle-aged to older couples living in the area as well. As of 2020, the median household income in Appison was about $104,000 a year, with 40% of households in the area earning over $150,000 a year. So it is a little bit more of an affluent area, especially when you compare this with Chattanooga averages. About 40% of the population has a bachelor's degree or higher. The average household has 3 members out there. So again, this is a more family-oriented area. There's a lot of families out in this area that maybe have homesteads, that are looking for a little bit more land, that want to have gardens and have some woods and just a little bit more privacy. That's kind of what the Appison area is all about. Okay, let's get into the housing market. Let's talk about that a little bit. So as of the making of this video, houses are spending about 70 to 100 days on market. It just depends on the house, how it's priced, what amenities and features the house comes with, but you're about 70 to 100 days. Now, obviously, if there's a good deal, it's gonna move fast. That's just how things are right now. But in general, things are spending a little bit longer on market out there as compared to some other Chattanooga suburbs. Now, part of this has to do with the higher sales price. So the median sales price as of the making of this video is between $520,000 and $620,000. The reason that there is this range is it depends on which source you're checking. So if you're looking at Zillow, you might get one number. If you're looking at Realtor.com or Redfin, you might get another number, but it's between $520,000 and $620,000 right now. A lot of the homes in the Appison area are a little bit bigger. So you're talking maybe 2,000 square feet on the small side, going all the way up to 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 square feet on the larger side. So again, in Appison, it's mostly single family homes, maybe on some farmland. There are not a whole lot of neighborhoods that are very developed out there, although that is changing. There are some that are currently undergoing development. For the most part, you're gonna have a lot of fairly traditional architecture out there, maybe craftsman, farmhouse, those sorts of homes are what you're gonna find in the Appison area. In terms of the rental market, there's really not a whole lot in the Appison area. From what I could find on Rent Cafe, the average rental out there is about $1,650 a month. And so again, this is not like duplexes or triplexes or apartment buildings. This would be single family home rentals, or potentially you're renting out a basement or something like that from somebody that has a home out there. Hey, really quick, I'm a licensed realtor in both Tennessee and Georgia. So if you're thinking about relocating to the Chattanooga area and you need help finding a house, I'd love it if you reached out to me. You can go through the link to my website and then book a meeting with me, or you can reach out direct through my cell or email. Okay, back to the video. Let's jump into the cost of living. Now, the cost of living in Appison is going to be a little bit higher than the Chattanooga average, just because the average cost of housing out there is quite a bit higher. Your utilities, property taxes, transportation, all those things are going to actually be cheaper than most of the Chattanooga area. And Appison is outside of city limits, so you're not going to be paying city taxes. You'll just be paying the county taxes in Appison. In terms of employment opportunities, Appison sits a little bit further out from Chattanooga itself, so you're just on the edge of Ooltewah. You're going to be closer to employers like McKee Foods, Volkswagen, the Amazon Fulfillment Center, those sorts of companies. There are a lot of people, though, that will live in Appison and then commute to either Cleveland or to downtown Chattanooga for work. If you're thinking about commuting to downtown, you could expect maybe 30 minutes on the short end to get downtown, and then all the way up to 45 minutes or maybe an hour to get to downtown, depending on where in Appison you live and how bad the traffic is. Fortunately, the infrastructure and the roads are improving, but there is a lot of construction going on right now on various roads, especially along Appison Pike, which takes you from Appison itself out to 75, which would be probably the most direct route to get to Chattanooga. So those are things that you're going to want to take into account if you're thinking about living there. In terms of schools, there is Appison Elementary, which is a relatively well thought of school in the area. If you want to see specific ratings on that, I would encourage you to check out greatschools.org. There's also East Hamilton Middle School and East Hamilton High School very close by to Appison, and those would be the public schools that service the Appison area. In terms of private schools in the immediate area, there is Collegedale Academy, which is K through 12, and then there is also Silverdale Baptist, which I believe is also K through 12. There are some other options, but those are a little bit further out. In terms of higher education, some of the schools that you'd probably be looking at would be Southern Adventist University. That is the closest school to Appison. There is UTC, University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. That would be downtown Chattanooga. There is Chat State, which is also basically downtown Chattanooga. Then there is Covenant College. And then in the other direction, there is Lee University. Now, going down into Georgia, you could go to Dalton State. There are a few schools down in Georgia as well that would be within a reasonable commute of Appison. So there are plenty of options when it comes to higher education. So in terms of amenities and services, there are not really any grocery stores that I can think of in Appison itself. The grocery stores and the shopping would be over in Ooltewah or in Collegedale, which are both very close by to Appison. So you've got Publix, multiple Publix locations. There's a Walmart in Ooltewah. There's Aldi, a couple of food cities. So there's plenty of grocery shopping. There's also a lot of boutiques and things nearby to Appison as well. One restaurant that I can think of in Appison itself, which is the Gray Flower Deli. If you're thinking about moving to Appison, I wouldn't really be too concerned with grocery stores and amenities not being available in Appison itself, because they're really pretty close. I mean, I think the most you would have to drive to get to a grocery store would probably be 15 minutes. It's really not that bad. If you're living on the closer sides of Appison, you could even be as close as 5 minutes from a Publix location. For healthcare, you're gonna have to go over to East Brainerd, which is another suburb of Chattanooga. That would probably be the closest hospital system. There are some primary care locations in Ooltewah, so you could get over there pretty quick as well. For transportation, you're definitely going to want to have your own car in Appison. I think it would be almost impossible to live out in Appison without having a car. I mean, you'd really want that to be able to get basically anywhere. There's not public transit in Appison. I mean, maybe you could get Uber to come pick you up, but that would get expensive quick. So in terms of parks and things to do in Appison, you do have Appison Park, which I believe there are pickleball courts at now. It's just a pretty small little park area. There's a little pavilion where you could maybe have a picnic there. But then very close by there is Collegedale, and Collegedale kind of has more of those parks. There's Little Debbie Park, there is the Imagination Station, and then there is the Wolf-Teaver Greenway. Wolf-Teaver Greenway is, I think, 4.5, maybe 5 miles long. It goes right along the Wolf-Teaver Creek and actually takes you by a number of parks and playgrounds and areas where the kids can hang out. So that would be something if you're looking for a place to go walk and exercise that's, on an actually concrete path. I would say that overall, Appison has a very peaceful and relaxed feel to it. It's very laid back. There's not a lot of commercial there. There's not a lot of traffic coming through Appison. So it's a very relaxed place to live. I would say the challenges for living out there would be that it is a little bit further out. It's further out from, local amenities and things to do. But that's kind of the trade-off that you make when you want those larger lots and more space. Another one of the challenges is that housing tends to cost a little bit more out there, but they're also larger houses. And if you were to buy a house that size elsewhere in Chattanooga, it would also be pretty expensive. Well, that is going to be it for this video on Appison, Tennessee. If you made it this far, YouTube thinks that you might like either of these videos here. I make a ton of content that goes into depth and detail about what it's like to live in Chattanooga. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you got some value. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.